So if you take away the pot of gold at the end, who's going to put up with a 10% success ratio?
They've almost like what people now say romanticised like entrepreneurship and made it glamorous. The reality is you do have to work your butt off.
There are no lazy successful entrepreneurs. It just doesn't happen. Welcome to the Boardroom. Sabrina Shivanes-Denman is the founder of NOBS, short for No Bullshit, which is a members club for high-performing entrepreneurs. Where did you get here? How did you get here?
Do you know what? That's actually funny because I think I always say that the most difficult question people ask me is, what do you do? Because where do I start, right?
Yes.
So I feel like for a long time, I think I didn't know how to answer that question. Like, what do I do? There are so many strings to my bow. And I've decided now to kind of own that. And I describe myself as a portfolio entrepreneur because I feel like, there are a lot of things that I do, but they connect with each other. So I've built a portfolio of what I do. So I would say I'm a portfolio entrepreneur and somewhat of a small business diagnostician is how I'd like to describe it. So I think obviously my background's in marketing and branding, but I don't just go into businesses and look at the branding and marketing side of things. I very much diagnose what their problem is in their business and also growing the business myself. I feel like, and I would like to hope that you would probably vouch for this, is that one of the most important things in business should be relationship. I created NOBS as a way for entrepreneurs who can't stand the bullshit that's out there on entrepreneurship and all the noise that's going around, all these different cheat sheets and how-tos and everything. And I want a place where they can actually just meet real people, meet other entrepreneurs who get it, who are getting stuck in, who want to grow their business in the right way and talk intellectually about things, not talk about how to go viral, and actually, get in the right rooms with investors and other board members and advisors and things like that. And so for me, it was creating something that didn't really exist. It's like, this members club where you're around other people who get it, who are doing the right thing. We have dinners, we have lunches, we have and then we do panel discussions and events, and we bring in our partners and do things like that. So it's events led at the moment. In that role, not only was I managing all the marketing and comms for the show, I then managed all the brands kind of assets. So therefore, every role I ever did was kind of very multi-purposeful. We're always working for different diversity of brands and this sort of stuff. So I've got background in brand and marketing. But then it led to.
Let's play a few moves.
All right, go.
I've done well here because I got white without even tossing for colours. So,
which we can talk about. It's like, what do you have first movers advantage? That's the question. Do you really have first movers advantage?
Okay. Well, yeah. So chess. What would you say? I'd say in chess it's something like 55-45 at a sort of professional, high level. It's probably 55-45 in favour of white.
I think maybe it's like 52-48, maybe even. I feel like they always
tighter
draw,
than
right?
that.
It's very, very close. But I'm curious in terms of as well in business, right? Is the what's the difference between in business first movers advantage? Because I feel
yes. Well, I don't know if I coined the term, but I like to say there's first mover advantage, but I also like to say there's first mover disadvantage.
Okay.
And I like to say there's a second mover advantage.
So everyone
just to confuse
wins.
people. Well, sometimes I think there's an old expression: the pioneers get shot.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're first to go into a market, you develop that market, you test that market. A bit like making up an example. Let's say vegetarian hamburgers.
Yep.
Let's say you started a vegetarian hamburger shop somewhere, so you're the first mover. You're testing to see if there's a market for vegetarian hamburgers, call them that. And then it works. So you've done the first mover thing. McDonald's goes, oh, yeah, great idea. We'll do that. And they start selling vegetarian, and your business goes bust. So you test the idea, which is a big part of business. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the first mover, all they do is test the market, establish it, see if it works, and someone else comes along. And being a tech investor for a long time, I've seen that. I was early into Bluetooth. I was early into digital music. I was early into a lot of stuff which failed, even though they were first in. And then when the big people came in, big boys, big companies came in, they just dominated those markets. So sometimes I view it as first mover disadvantage, where you pay all the discovery costs to find out if an idea is any good or not. And then the second mover advantage, you go, oh yeah, okay, you can sell, shampoo with whatever, conditioner combined, whatever it is, the new product. You can sell that, and someone comes and steals your idea and steals your market. So sometimes it's better to wait to see what other people are doing, or even to, what Anya Hindmarsh did was, seeing a certain type of handbag selling in Italy, and then she was a first mover of bringing that into the UK. But in a way, she was sort of second mover because she'd seen it work somewhere else.
Yeah. There you go. I'm going to go for a second mover's advantage. I'm going to try and take what you said and,
All right, we'll play some moves.
try to get
We'll play some moves. I'll play quite passively anyway. And then I've also found that the biggest differentiator at a high, reasonable level in chess is often in the ending.
The thing I've noticed recently is that most of the businesses that I work with have the same sort of problem. Like you said, they're spending so much money on marketing, and when sales aren't going well, or when they've hit a difficult point, they sort of go, okay, it's a marketing problem. Let's rebrand, or let's do our comms, or let's see what else we can do. Let's do another campaign. But actually, what I realise is that most of them don't have a marketing problem. They actually have a positional problem. And again, this goes back to chess. And I realise, again, people are throwing tactics at stuff, but actually they have no positional understanding. And, this is what I realise, and this is what I've been developing recently, and is that I kind of developed this framework called the positional advantage for businesses for that exact reason, about helping them gain this positional advantage. Because I realise that we're spending so much money at marketing, they think it's a marketing problem, but actually they haven't position themselves in the market. Like, where does Home House compare to Soho House? Like, they haven't clearly communicated that. They haven't clearly communicated their brand either. Like, it's not about the beautiful assets and everything like that. It's how do their customers feel about their brand and their commercial viability and the operational side of things. And they're spending so much money on marketing, got to reach more people, got to increase like this and that and do more campaigns and get in front of people. But they haven't actually got the fundamentals right. And so I think no matter how much money you throw at marketing, if you haven't got the positioning right and you haven't got those fundamentals, then you're never going to fix that. Right. I don't know if you found the same thing, but that's what I've noticed. And I think people got to rewind. But to do that, that takes a lot to say, actually, I got it wrong in the first place and I have to fix that.
And well, how is it? It must have changed a hell of a lot, in the time you've been involved in marketing. It's like it changes almost every year now.
Yeah.
Like from the emergence of social media, when we opened Home House in the late 90s, you try to get in the magazines.
Yes.
That was, or occasional article in the newspaper. Now it's like, now Home House would have been so easy because it's a restoration of a beautiful building. The Instagram would have been amazing. The staircase, just the beautiful walls. But then it was like, can we get, so it must have changed a hell of a lot in your time. Like, do people still bother about getting magazines? Like, how does marketing change?
It has, but I think the magazine thing's really interesting, but it's less of a physical copy of a magazine now. It's all digital PR, right? So it's magazines are still a big thing, and I think lots of people love to say I was in this magazine, but again, what I found is bizarre. They only want to be in that magazine so they can then go put it on Instagram to say they've been in this magazine. So it's
That's
kind
funny.
of
funny?
It's really bizarre. So it's like I was featured in Forbes, but they put that on their bio and LinkedIn and talk about it. But it's less about the physical, PR of that. It's more about the PR around saying you did that thing, and it's really backwards. So I think that people still have it very wrong because, again, like I said about social media, it's all about the beautiful Instagram. It's all about how it looks on the outside, and it's less about the actual results on the inside. I think so many people are getting distracted. It's like performance marketing, and people, for example, I do a lot of digital marketing. That's something I've been doing along with my agency, and for example, take email marketing. It's still the most effective form of digital marketing.
Sorry, slow down on that. What is the most effective form? Can you
email marketing? So
can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
So what is email marketing? And why is it so successful?
Okay, so email marketing is essentially just emailing your customers, whether that's through a newsletter or whether it's just normal comms, but there's lots of different email marketing platforms that help you kind of automate that. So when you get those beautiful emails in your inbox from whatever brand they are, that's a form of email marketing. Mm-hmm. How much money you spend doing the email marketing, you're usually realizing 42 times that amount that you spend on marketing in terms of revenue that you get from email marketing.
42 times,
yes.
A multiple of 42 times. So if I spend £100, I'll get 4,200 back. Is that?
No, it's 4,200.
42 times.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you're saying, well, in that case, let's leave this chess and go. But that requires email marketing where people, the frustration with social media is the dreaded algorithms.
Yes.
You can put, you can have a huge number of followers and put it out, and only 3 of them see it anyway.
Yes.
But obviously, direct emailing, it's a captive audience that gets into their inbox where they read it. But you need to build up that mailing list So that becomes that problem. How do you build up a mailing list to get your 42 return?
And that's the whole, like, I think, chicken and egg thing, because people assume that you have to go on social media to be able to get your social media followers off onto your email marketing list. But again, if you think about the 42 times ROI, and you think about how many people you actually need compared to social media. So social media is ridiculously low at the moment. What it is, like you said, only 3 people see it. I think it is like 2%. Some people, it's less than 10% for pretty much anyone on social media to the audience you get to. It's the thing. People think that followers are buyers. They're not. Most of the time, they're there to learn from you, right? And they're there to absorb what you want, to get your connections, to just be entertained half the time. They're not actually going to buy anything from you. Right. The people on your email list, they're actually people who care about showing up to your things, your services, your products. So why aren't you talking to the people who actually care about your business? Because it comes from, again, that dopamine hit. It's not so interesting sending out an email and then getting a reply back going, yeah, that sounds great, I'd love to be interested in your services, because no one knows about that. Whereas if you post some cool thing on Instagram or any social media and suddenly it blows up and goes viral, everyone sees how popular you are, and it suddenly feels really cool. And I think that's the thing. They're missing what feels good and looks like you're popular, looks like you're successful, versus what actually does make you successful.
Right. So your takeaway from that is, if you have any sort of event, or if you're selling, if you're selling something, online or wherever, any chance you have to grab those details in a perfectly nice, legal, sensible way, any chance you have of grabbing particularly their email address, and getting them to sign up to that newsletter is very, very valuable. And maybe some people are missing that.
Totally missing that. And actually something that I do a lot of is event marketing. So that means obviously anything to do with events, whether it's marketing the event itself, but actually where I help most is marketing within the event. So for example, lots of people I know run events, summits, conferences, like just even social events, and they don't realise the best place to actually market what they do is at that event. So most event organisers are so concentrating on running the actual event because it's stressful. Like it's difficult. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and something always goes wrong. And so they're concentrating on making sure the event goes well, but they're not concentrating on what happens during the event and how to actually benefit from that event. For example, if you run a yearly conference, the best thing to do, best place to start marketing your next conference is at that current conference. Like if people are sitting there, they're enjoying what you're doing, they're loving it, and they're already bought into this, you bring up QR codes everywhere. You talk about it on the stage, and you say, actually, if you sign up now, you have this, scan this QR code, you get an early bird discount next year. People are like, yeah, this is great, and they're on it, and they're ready signed up.
Right.
Or at least do competitions, and you say, take a picture, use this hashtag, put it on social media. You're getting what we call UGC, user generated content, which is free marketing for everyone. All the people at the event are posting about your event, free marketing. And at the same time, they're taking part of a competition. The best post, the best picture wins or whatever, and they get whatever prizes. All these little things are just such easy way, cheap ways, very simple to organise, but really powerful ways to market your business. But people are sleeping on this because it's not what all the other influencers do and what all the other gurus are telling them to do. So people are missing the actual most valuable parts that actually grow their business because they're kind of doing the shiny things that look like they're supposed to do. Are there any traits that you've seen that makes a successful entrepreneur? Can you tell straight away? Or are there any big no-nos? I think there's so many people who want to raise money. How do they impress investors? Is this what is it that you see?
It's a really good question. I'm interested to get your take on it. I mean, I think entrepreneurs, as they call them or us, can be, I think, almost any age, any gender, almost any background, any educational background. They can be rich or poor. Being poor gives them motivation sometimes. Being rich gives them money. Yeah. but they can be almost anything. But there's one thing which there are no lazy successful entrepreneurs. It just doesn't happen. So they've got energy. It has to be an amount of energy. And I've never seen anyone succeed if they don't have that energy. I think so. Energy is one thing, and maybe you'd throw in there mild optimism. You can't be an unrealistic optimist, or you just burn all your money in the first month. But you need a little bit of risk taking, you know. And I mean, so I'd say to not be lazy, have an energy level, and to be a mild optimist. So it gets you out of bed. You know, they're correlated in a way. If you're a mild optimist, then you get out of bed and you get going. What do you think?
I totally think the same sort of thing. I think. So I say realist, I think, when it comes to like optimism as well. And I think, like, you know, there's a borderline between positive and arrogance. And I think, like, you know, you cross that, then you're in dangerous territory. I'd love to expand on the energy thing, because I do believe this, and I don't believe that anyone ever got to success without really working their butts off. Like, I do believe that. And I think that there's so much content out there which is talking about manifesting success, or like, you know, the anti-hustle culture that there is, and it's all like work-life balance. And I think it's a nice ideal that, you know, you can wake up one day, you quit your 9 to 5, you follow and do what you love, you follow your passions, all the cliches that are out there. You quit your 9 to 5, you follow your passion, you do what you love, and you never have to work a day in your life and all that stuff. And you just get work-life balance because you get up, you do your yoga, you have your matcha, and like, you know, they've got this, they've almost like what people now say romanticised like entrepreneurship, and made it glamorous and made it seem like this is the way to success and happiness and freedom. But the reality is, you do have to work your butt off. Like you said, you will have to have those stressful times, and I guess the question is, what is the balance? Because again, all the content around it is that this does exist. And I don't think it helps where there is a successful entrepreneur who has made it, but like they've taken 10 years of a slog to make it, right? But now they're like kind of backtracking this perfect story about how they woke up one day and they just knew what they're supposed to do, and they did all these things and everything fell perfectly into place, when we know that's not actually what happened. And I think it's so misleading, and it doesn't prepare the new entrepreneurs for what is really about to happen, because I think it's so hard. And I think it's inevitable that you will have days when you're just crying and you're just stressing. You're like, why did I do this? Like, where is my money coming from? Am I going to run out of money? How am I going to pay my staff? And some days where you're like, this is brilliant. Like, you know, everything's going really well. But it is this big roller coaster of emotions and money and stress and everything. And I mean, like, how has your journey been in that sense? Like, really, has it been? Like, and have you ever met any of those people who've had a clean, happy line, who's just had it all worked out? I mean, the energy thing I love, and I do believe in hard work, but the narrative out there is that there is another way. And I do believe there's another way. I'm trying to help business owners not be so stressed, and that's why I think the systems come in, and the strategy, and saying no to the right things, and, you know, that sort of stuff is important, but it's never going to be easy, right? And I think if it's easy, I feel like you're doing the wrong thing.
But how much do you think of business is intuition and how much is just hard calculation?
Yeah, and I love that question, because I think it's something I'm looking at the moment. I'm actually in the middle of trying to do, on top of everything else, I'm trying to do a doctorate in entrepreneurship.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy, because I'm studying so many businesses and entrepreneurs and their behaviours and understanding like what makes them successful and what are the traits. And I do think there's this element of, like, I think that, I don't know about you, but, you know, not everyone's born to be an entrepreneur, obviously. And I think, like, it's so many, I just don't think so.
Oh, so you think, just to pull you up on that, or to clarify that, you think entrepreneurs are born, not made?
Yeah. I think naturally they are, but they can be made. Like, I think with anything, like, you know, I think that some people maybe not natural entrepreneurs, but they have all the traits to become one, in terms of like they have the determination, they have the resilience, they have like the hard work, and they can do it. They can be, there's a difference, I think. They can be successful business owners, but I don't think they're natural entrepreneurs. There's a difference. But I think that, like, some people, they naturally have the vision, and everything they do, they can see business opportunities everywhere they go. I think that's a natural entrepreneur. People who, like, can take anything and somehow be able to sell it. The whole, like, sell me this pen, you know, like from the Wolf of Wall Street. I think there's some people who just see those opportunities and can almost take any losing business and work out ways of making it profitable.
So some people, they should never even try?
Yeah, I genuinely think that. Like you said, there's only a 10% success chance. Why are we trying? Go down something. Because it's stressful.
It's interesting, the attitude to risk. Well, you know, when I ran a trading desk, I had traders working for me. You know, I would give them a little bit of capital to start out, you know, to take risk with. And the worst thing was if they made money at the beginning. It's almost like having a child that wins at gambling and thinks, oh, gambling, that's a great way to make money.
Yeah.
But obviously in investing, it's, but they would, and they would suddenly think this is easy. I'm like, the best thing that I preferred was when they lost money. And funnily enough, when I started trading, and I had my first career was as a trader, running a fund and then running a fund. But my first trade, I remember, like, I did it and I lost like thousands of dollars for me at that time, which a lot of money, and it scared the hell out of me, and I decided never to trade again. And it was the best thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because, but fast forward like 5 or 6 years, I'm running a trading desk, taking huge bets in the market, but that I always was scared of risk, and it was the best training that I had, was having a big loss at the beginning. And in some ways, in business, I had Home House was more or less my first business, and I've been running a hedge fund, and then I get this business, and Home House was a success. I'm like, God,
it's
business
easy.
is way easier than trying to prick what the dollar euro is going to do. It's way, so I thought business was easy, and then I started a tennis racket company which I ran, and I did everything, and I did every mistake possibly known to anyone. It's a really silly story. Anyway, but I then, so because I had a success with Home House, I immediately went in and I just lost hundreds of thousands on this tennis racket company. I made all the mistakes because I thought business was easy, but then I learned a lot more from the failed tennis racket business in a way, because that's where I got all my lessons, and it's good that it happened early, so I didn't lose, I didn't go crazy and go bust, sort of thing. But you learn, so in a way, an attitude to risk is a big thing, and learning to respect it early on. And I'll talk about my book, but I wrote a book on finance years ago called Taming the Lion. The reason I called it Taming the Lion was, in finance, you have to have the lion tamer doesn't start with the assumption that the lion's easy to tame. The lion tamer starts, I've never been a lion tamer, but the lion tamer starts with a real fear of the lion. Your first thing is don't get eaten. And in a way, business and investing is almost should be like that. Don't get eaten, don't go bust, start with that. Instead of just assuming, oh, this is just a lion, it's fine, walk in with your chair and your whip and off you go. You start with that assumption, and then you can try to find maybe a few techniques which might actually work with the lion, or a few techniques which might work in business. But risk aversion is not a bad thing. Risk to me is the necessary cost of doing business. It's, if I could get rid of risk entirely, I would. And if I've got traders or people who just enjoy the risk, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and that's it. Then you're it's basically gambling, right? When you do that, that's exactly the difference. And I think that what you've just said is I think one of the reasons why I see so many new entrepreneurs now failing, because they're seeing all the glamorization of it and they think it's just easy. They're not actually realizing the risk. And I think sometimes when I create content that's where the whole no bullshit thing comes in, right? It's about being real, and it's like, here's the truth around it. This stuff is the BS. Like, I'm trying to explain to you what it is to prepare you mentally, phically, and practically for business. And people say you're being negative, and I'm like, no, I'm actually helping prepare you. And I would love to touch on the trading thing, because this is something I've been dabbling with recently. Not trading itself, please. I don't want to do that, but the concept of it and the parallelisms. Because, like I said to you at the beginning, I describe myself now as a portfolio entrepreneur. I was always told that I do too many things. That's how it's phrased, too many, right? And I'm called, oh, you're jack of all trades. Jack of all trades, master of none. Despite being an actual chess master, but I say to people don't realise the full quote. It's jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes that's better than being a master of one. That's actually the full quote. Yeah. So, and people would totally take the bit that they want to do. But what I always think about is that, people say, oh, you're going to burn out, you're doing too many things, but my portfolio entrepreneurship, they complement each other. So they actually help each other grow, as opposed to, distract me from my focus. And I think with the right systems in place, you're actually able to not burn out.
What for you, my question would be, how do you manage your time?
Yeah.
If you've got time to do all that, then great. But how do you manage the time?
Yeah, and again, it comes with systems. I think, I've always been, this is something I always teach the entrepreneurs I work with as well, is productivity, but again, overused term, buzzword now. It's how to be productive, how to be efficient with your time. And again, that comes down to saying no to the right things. I think, again, the attraction of doing so many things, which it looks like from the outside I am doing so many things, and to an extent I am. But I'm also saying no to so many things. And I think that's it. Lots of people say yes to all these different activities.
Right. So you cut back on anything else that might get into those core 4 or 5 things you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what piece of bullshit is out there? What's the biggest piece of bullshit out there right now?
Oh, God. I've got a long list.
Oh, just 3 or 4 then.
We've talked about some of it today, right? Like how easy it is to run a business. I think that's it. Like I think for me, it's all connected again, everything. It's how easy it is to run a business, how it just takes a few simple templates and hacks and all these sort of things, and listening to these gurus. The fake it till you make it is one of the big ones, right? Because there was some element of truth to that, right? It's like, showing up in a way that you want to be perceived. But people are literally taking it to the literal terms. They are faking everything.
They're lying.
That's the difference.
It's a fine line
between
isn't
marketing
a new company has problems, because people are people obviously prefer to buy. They'll pay more to buy from an established brand than they will from an unknown brand because of support and because how long is a new business going to be around? There's a product work, trustability issues, all that kind of stuff. So there has to be. So sometimes you have to pretend you're a bit bigger than you are, which might mean you arrive in a fancy car, but it's still an Uber.
Yes,
I don't know. That's
Lux.
kind of okay, and you dress like you've just won the lottery, but where you borrowed your suit from your brother. There's a little bit of that's okay, but actually lying is there's a fine line, isn't it? But I think sometimes you do have to portray an element of sophistication to get interesting. So interesting when you go on stage speaking about no bullshit. Must be. But anyway, it's been fascinating to chat to you. We'll continue our game.
Yeah.
And we've certainly given a big bash the business side and how it relates to chess. It's been very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and good going on the venture, the adventure, your several adventures.
Yeah. Thank you.